All right. Welcome everyone to another episode of Highlighting Greatness with Hasayo. I'm extremely excited about the guest I have today. He's a new friend, a colleague, a co-pharmacist. Please help me welcome Maurice Shaw to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Maurice, thank you for coming on. It's great to finally be able to catch up with you again. I know we're both super busy, and you do so much, but great to have you on.
Thank you. It's nice to put a face to the voice.
Yeah, likewise, man. Well, you're out here, man. I've been seeing you, so uh, everybody knows what your face looks like. But yeah, thanks for coming on. So I'll give just a quick little introduction, and then maybe you could maybe fill in the gaps of what I miss out. Um, but Maurice is a pharmacist. You're in the Chicago area. I'm in
Mhm.
the Houston area, Texas area. Maurice is actually you're a pharmacist and you're also a comedian.
Yes. I dabble in a bit of both. At first, pharmacy helped me to become a better comedian, but then when I became a better comedian, it also helped me become a better pharmacist because there's been a lot of situations in retail where I've had an angry customer or angry employees, and being able to make people laugh at a drop of a dime really has helped smooth out any issues in the pharmacy, or just keeps customers coming back because I can always make them laugh.
Right. That's awesome, man. You definitely have a skill that I think a lot of people wish that they had. I know I'm one of them. Especially when I started kind of getting more into creating and putting things out on content creating and all that stuff. Being able to find a way to infuse your message with either humor or something, and get people to watch is definitely a skill. And so shout out to you all. And I love comedy. Let's talk about that. How did you even get into comedy? Like,
Well, people
I,
always told me that I was funny, so it's just something that people said
yeah.
try it out. So I did comedy, and I used to do these open mics. So you just go there, and they give you like 2 minutes on stage for you to tell jokes, and
Okay.
I just kept doing it. The one thing I will say about comics is they're real supportive. So even if you go on stage and you aren't funny, they laugh and they clap and just kind
Yeah.
of make you feel good. It was like once a week you met with your friends just to try to hone a craft that you're passionate about.
Right.
And one day I actually someone asked me to do a show, and I was getting ready to do a show, and I was studying. I think we had I think it was a heart failure exam I was studying for. So I had these cards,
Yeah.
and this older guy that used to write for the Tribune, he goes, "Oh, you working on your set?" Because he seen me perform, but at that point I was just doing jokes about being drunk or just typical comedian jokes. I was like, "No, I actually have a heart failure exam on Friday, so I'm trying to study." He's like, "Well, why are you doing drunk jokes and dick jokes? Why don't you talk about pharmacy?" And I was like, "Well, nobody wants to hear that." And he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
He's like, "Everybody here is probably going to do that material. You should focus on that because that's interesting." So
Yeah.
I kind of just focused on just writing pharmacy jokes. It took a while because most of my audience, they're not pharmacists, so it's kind of hard because I'd go up there like, "So this lady had a prior auth," and they'd be like, "What are you talking about?" So I was like, "All right, I gotta redo these jokes because clearly I don't have, you have limited time, so you can't be up there
Yeah.
trying to explain what a prior auth is." So I had to make
Yeah.
my jokes, in a certain way that if you're a pharmacist or not in a pharmacist or never worked in a pharmacy, you can still get the joke. So
Right.
I started, it's kind of hard to get in the big clubs because they, like every Wednesday, the Laugh Factory would have an open mic, and you get 2 minutes, but they only take the first 10 comics. But everybody in
Okay.
the city shows up. So I used to leave pharmacy school, go sit in front of the Laugh Factory for like 3 hours, just sitting outside on the concrete, just so I could be one of the first 10 comics to go up. And I would do this like every other
Wow.
day, repeatedly.
Wow.
And the guy who ran is like, man, I think you're funny, but how often do you do comedy? I was like, well, I only do it once or twice a week because I'm in pharmacy school and I was working. And he's like, well, once you do it more on a regular basis, then I'll have you come back. I only take people who do comedy every day of the week. So I was like, well, okay, well, this is not going to work because I clearly can't stop doing comedy, stop pharmacy school and just keep on doing.
Yeah.
So that's when I kind of laid off on it, and then I started to like kind of focus on YouTube more to get myself out that way because going through the comedy clubs got a little bit harder. But
Wow.
that's really what especially when I moved from the Chicago area to an area that only had like one comedy club. So I'm like, man, I can't go on stage once a week or twice a week like I used to. So I had to find another way to still get my message out. So that's when the YouTube thing came about, and I was watching videos on how to edit and started buying cameras and lights and stuff. And I didn't really think it was going to take off, but it kind of just took off. And people don't realize how much work goes into editing because I'll make one video like, can you shoot this and do this and put it up tomorrow? I'm like, no, it doesn't work
doesn't
that
work
way.
like that.
So
No, you're absolutely right, man. And when I was, I've seen some of your videos, some of your comedy videos, and then especially I really found out about you when you did Z-Dogs, when you did his show, and for those that aren't familiar, Z-Dog is he's a doctor, but he's more of a social media type of, he brings light to different issues in the medical community, healthcare communities, things like that. And he had Maurice on his show. And so it's from that I went and I kind of just researched you a little bit, and I was like, man, this dude is kind of dope. One, you're funny, and two, I saw kind of some of where your channel had kind of taken a turn to now where you're talking more about kind of the some of the issues that you see in pharmacy and things like that. And so from there on, I hit you up, and then we got in contact and things like that. But no, I definitely have seen how a bit of your stuff on YouTube. And I don't know if you would be cool with this or not, but like there was one joke that I saw, right, that you did that was the what was it? I don't know if you'd be cool with us telling, but it was the joke where you were like people come up and they're like, oh, what takes so long, to get my medicine, it's just putting a big bottle into a little bottle.
Oh yeah. Then when the lady, she just wanted to I said, you have any questions? She wanted to know about interactions. I'm like, I don't know. I just took some pills from that big bottle. I'm not even sure what pills you got.
Man, that was so, when I heard that, I was like, man, this is so funny. Yeah, it's true. Like a lot of people, just they have so many misconceptions about what we do, right? I'm not in retail. I started off in retail. I've been in pharmacy. I started off as a tech back in like 2006 or something. And obviously I was in retail, the whole yard, and then I worked my way through undergrad and pharmacy school and things like that. But and now I've gotten more into hospitals. But man, even in retail, which is the more accessible, the more visible part of pharmacy, a lot of people, just the general public, they're not aware of what we do. They don't understand what we do. They don't understand what it's like to work in pharmacy, and just really you have people's health in your hands, and it's a very delicate thing. We're not out here serving burgers and fries. We're dealing with like life-saving, things that could definitely change your life, if there's a mistake. So can we talk a little bit about kind of some of the misconceptions you've seen, with patients, and kind of what you feel some of those are, before we go into some other issues with, or some other things with the profession.
Yeah, like some of the misconceptions, I don't think that people, when they come and bring a script, because they don't know how behind the store is. So like, It's like, okay, when I go to McDonald's, right, I'm looking in the lobby, I see 4 people. I'm like, okay, so they might have to make 4 burgers before they get to me. I
Yeah,
think that's how
yeah,
people think of retail. When they bring their script, they're like, okay, it's 2 people in the lobby. My stuff should be ready in 10 minutes. And it's like, no, no, no,
yeah,
no. I probably got 200 scripts ahead of your script. And
yeah,
they want, they don't, part of it is they just don't understand. So I always take that into consideration when somebody's mad. Like when I go get my car fixed and they're like, well, we can't do this that quickly, but I don't understand anything about cars. So, if I was a
yeah,
mechanic, I'm sure I would have be more understanding as to why it takes so long to get my car fixed. So I think that's
yeah,
just what the public is, because the way that they kind of market pharmacy, they market as this, oh, the commercial, the lady drops off her script and then the next scene she's picking it up and walking out like, she only waited
yeah,
like 5-10 minutes. So
yeah,
kind of gives
yeah,
it the misconception. But I mean, it would be nice if we were, you know, um, properly staffed. It still wouldn't be 5 minutes, but it'd be a more pleasant experience if we had the time, because sometimes we're so busy and overwhelmed. I know my brain is so fried just trying to do in a basic calculation like amoxicillin. Like, if you don't have 200 per 5 in, but you got something else in stock, a different concentration, you want to switch it. It's just like
yeah.
your brain is just so exhausted from simple math. But
Right. Right, and so it's very interesting. You know, we're in a very interesting profession. You know, we're supposed to be the most accessible healthcare professionals out there. You know, before anyone goes to their doctor or whatever, a lot of times they'll come to the pharmacy and try to get something. You know, but a lot of times you see that people just don't understand what it is, and I feel like there's also really a there's issues all over the all around, but I feel like there's just a lack of uh, a lack of really respect, for our profession, a lack of, people. I think really it probably didn't, maybe it didn't start there, but it definitely didn't help when they put a drive-through in pharmacy, you know, and now we're being, you almost equate that if you're a patient, you almost equate coming to the pharmacy as if you're coming to a, to like a fast food restaurant, and you expect it, you're dropping something off, you expect it in 5 minutes, all these things. You'll even have people come in and asking you to, oh, can you get me some diapers, or can you get me some whatever, milk or whatever. And it's like, we're a pharmacy, we're not trying to do your personal shopping for you. um, have you seen that sort of dynamic, or have you what's your thoughts on that?
uh, yeah, it's I definitely see it all the time, where people come through the drive-through and the doctor sent it over, and they think when they first show up, it's supposed to automatically be ready because they were
Yep.
either told it was supposed to be ready. There's other
Yep.
people who drop it off through drive-through, and when you tell them it'll be like 30 minutes for the control, and they're like, well, why does it take 30 minutes? I'm like, well, I have 5 controls before you. I have to double count them because they're controls, and they just don't understand. And especially with this COVID, it just made it worse because now everybody's just under the assumption that it's, they can come through there and just get like 2 gallons of milk. I had one guy last week, I want a gallon of 2%. I want a gallon of 1%. My wife wants some organic tampons. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh my God, that's ridiculous, man.
And it's just that, everybody knows that once you call corporate, you'll get your way. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like that backs it up. Whereas if customers really felt that if they acted rude and we would ban them, that they couldn't get it, they probably wouldn't act that way, because they don't do that with anybody, with any other healthcare
Yeah.
profession.
And speaking of, any other healthcare professions, have you noticed, anywhere in the country, you can go up to a pharmacy, you can call up a pharmacy, and you can demand to speak to the pharmacist, you know, just like that, no, really no waiting, you don't have to pay anything. And you can ask us any questions about any medication, that you have, or hey, I got this rash, or hey, my kid is throwing up, or hey, whatever, I have a headache, and you have, I guess that's why they call us the most accessible healthcare field, but at the same time, like, you can't even see a medical assistant in this country without without paying, without waiting in line, waiting in, you know, in the lobby, you know, putting out your insurance and paying before you can see a medical assistant. Not to talk of a nurse, not to talk of a doctor, you know. Um, and I think it's great that, you know, we're accessible, but I feel like, you know, me, part of the change is going to be, you know, putting some value on that, you know, because ultimately, if people don't pay for something, they really don't value it, you know.
Yeah, it is interesting you say that, because I remember I had this lady, and she was like shaking and crying, and my technician's like, "Can you talk to her?" So I'm talking to the lady. She's like, "My vision, I can't see. I had to pull over." And she was like, "You know, I was diagnosed with diabetes like 2-3 weeks ago, and they made an appointment for me, but I couldn't make it. I couldn't get off of work, so
Mm,
it was getting really bad." And I said if they could see me, and they said, well, they couldn't see me for 2 more weeks. So she said over the last 2 weeks, her vision has been kind of messed up. So she tried to go to another doctor's office. They wouldn't see her. She tried to go to a clinic. They wouldn't take her insurance. She tried to go to the emergency room, but there was no place that she could just go to. Everybody was
yeah.
basically away because they wanted the money first, or they needed insurance, or they were just too busy. So finally, she came to the pharmacy. She's like, my friend said my blood sugar is probably low. And I said, well, what medicines are you on? She's like, well, I haven't gotten in. Nobody's giving me any medicine. I just was
Oh,
told
wow.
I have diabetes. And, because I missed that first follow-up because I couldn't get off of work and I need my job, I've just kind of been on my own. I was like, well, I don't think that your blood sugar is too low if, you're not
If
on any
anything,
medicine
yeah.
high and you're not taking anything lower. It's probably still high. So, I helped her get a machine, showed her how to use it so she could monitor it. Her daughter came and picked her up, and I just told her, you might just have to just sit in the emergency room and get it down, because my guess is that your blood sugars is just probably really high. And she's
Yeah.
like, "Thank you." I tried to go to a physician assistant clinic, the prompt care, the emergency room, 2 other doctors' offices. Nobody would help me. And I was like,
Wow.
I did all that for free. It took 30 minutes of my day, but we don't get paid for that. But like you said, no other profession, you can just go in there,
Yeah.
help me, and for free.
Yeah. Yeah. For free. We don't charge nothing. We don't ask nothing, you know, and I know the patients love it because, you know, it definitely is helpful to them. And we're like the number one, whatever, um, that gate, you know, kind of like the first line of defense or whatever before. And think about it, a lot of times people, it's not until they try something at the pharmacy first that they'll, you know, and if that fails, then they'll go to the doctor. You know, if they come and, you know, oh, this and that, you know, I got this, I got that, and we tell them, okay, try this or try that. If they try that and then it fails, or, you know, whatever, it's still getting worse, then they'll go to the doctor first, because a lot of times they don't, you know, they don't want to have to go to the doctor and make an appointment and pay whatever, you know,
Start
doctors.
charging these people membership fees like Sam's Club.
We got to, man. We got to like something. I feel like there's got to be some type of revolution, man. But anyway, let's before we get, you know, too far deep into that. So you got into comedy, and you're a comedian, you know, and you're a pharmacist. How is that kind of and you mentioned it a little bit about, you know, kind of it helping you in pharmacy. Can you talk a little bit more about that, as far as like how you've been able to kind of keep both balances, and like, do you still go out? Like, I know you said you were initially, like when you were in pharmacy school, the comedy clubs and stuff like that, but do you still do routines? Do you still like go out and, you know, do sets, or like?
Well, with the pandemic, no, but before the pandemic, like every other weekend that I was off, I was probably doing a show. So, like, if I had a show at Zany's Friday, Saturday, it's usually Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 2 shows Saturday. So, like, I would get off of work Thursday at like 2 o'clock, drive 3 hours to Chicago, get to
Oh,
the comedy
shoot.
club an hour early, and just sit in my car, work my material, do my set. And if I had to work Friday, I would drive back, work, and then come back to Chicago and just kind of hang out because my family is in Chicago. If I
Okay.
didn't have to work, I would just stay there. But it's usually, just kind of around every other weekend when I was off.
Wow,
Just
that's pretty cool.
yeah, it was. I mean, it was cool because, like like I said, the Laugh Factory had about 300-400 people per show. So like when I was performing, like Friday 2 shows, Saturday 2 shows, I was probably in front of 1,600 people, each
Wow.
week. And it was just cool because there so many different people come up to you. So there's pharmacists who come up to you who love you because they get it, or pharmacy technicians. There'd be other
Yeah.
people who family member was a pharmacist, so they came up to you wanting to take pictures. There'll be people who like, hey, I'm gonna treat my pharmacist better because I didn't realize everything that you guys go through. And then there'll be like, lawyers like, hey, do you know anything about whistleblowing? Want to pick your brain about pharmacy and things that's going on.
Yeah.
Even there was like one or two politicians that was just asking me about my opinion on different things. So what I like about the comedy is that like a lot of these forums or Facebook groups we have where we post our complaints, we're just, preaching to the choir because everybody there works in pharmacy. Whereas
Yeah.
where my platform is, I can kind of preach to people who don't know anything about pharmacy to spread awareness. So it's a little bit,
Yeah.
I feel a little bit more impactful.
That's what's up, man. What's your do you have as far as like with the comedy, right? Obviously you're a pharmacist, but do you have a do you want to, is there any desire to like try to get into comedy more, like drop a special, like
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, well, um, to do stand-up comedy over work in retail would be that would just be a dream come true. I mean,
all right.
probably doing a lot of different things would be different, but
Yeah.
that I mean that if there was a pharmacy show that would highlight kind of the things that go on from understaffing to the issues with PBMs, even if I was just a writer on it, not necessarily have to be on it, that would just kind of be like my drinks. I don't mind getting on stage and people go, "Oh man, you look so comfortable up there," because I'm kind of like laid back. I'm not
Yeah.
like some comics are real animated, so you're laughing. Like Kevin Hart, he makes a lot of animation. For
Yeah.
me, I'm kind of like laid back. I'll tell a punchline and sip on my drink a little and kind of let the audience kind of soak in the joke. It is kind of nerve wracking. You get on stage, there's 400 people staring at you. I swear it's so quiet when you first start. I could hear my heart, my lungs moving.
Yeah.
So that kind of anxiety that goes with it, I don't necessarily like. But once you tell a joke or two and you got the audience, then it's just all kind of downhill
That's
from
what's
there.
up, man. Who's your
Yeah, go ahead.
who's your favorite comedian?
Um, I probably say my favorite comedian that I always used to follow was just Paul Mooney.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Paul Mooney. He's
Wasn't he from Chicago?
I don't know. He's from I believe he's from California because he's either from California or New York, one of the two. He might be from
Okay.
Harlem because he still lives like in the ghetto. He always jokes about he never left. And I
That's
think
what's
he
up.
still lives in Harlem. But yeah, just kind of I like his delivery. It's not a whole lot of animation. He tells like jokes, punchlines that are just things that are everyday things that you don't think about, and he just tells his
Yeah.
version of it.
Yeah, that's what's up. I'm a big Chappelle fan. Like I've been rocking with Chappelle for
Well,
like ever since.
he had Paul Mooney on his show.
I know on the he had it on the Chappelle show, But I love Chappelle's stand up. Like he's such a, like when I see him, like he's such an intelligent person. He'll talk about something and you just like the way he'll just the different angles that he'll go with a certain topic, and just make you laugh. He was very just insightful in my opinion. But that's what's up, man. Why don't we talk about the kind of YouTube kind of space and you becoming more of a content creator and becoming more of an influencer and that sort of thing. Like I know initially I think you were saying that you got on it just as an avenue because you weren't able to like go out as often to the or do comedy more on a full-time basis, on an everyday basis, and so you turned to YouTube. How was that initially, and kind of how did you kind of build that up?
Well, one, when I was in Chicago, I had a comedy group. So I was like, yo, I was like, I want to make a movie called like, I think it's like The Pharmacy Manager, the movie or something, where I'm working at a pharmacy and I convinced the independent pharmacy to let me record in their pharmacy, and my friends helped me, and I was paying these actors like $20 for like 30 minutes of their time, off Craigslist, so they would come in and act. And
That's funny.
finally had somebody help me do all the editing, and I put it out there, and I was just like, it's just gonna be a one-time funny thing. It was just supposed to be a one-time thing, and then it just had so many views. Like, I didn't think, I think if I go back now, it's probably like 50, 60, somewhere over 1,000 views.
Wow.
And once I saw that, people were like, oh, you got to do more. So then I was like, well, I got to learn how to edit on my own. I got to learn how to do the videos on my own. So they're just going to do little short ones. But, then once I saw that, like, getting so many views and people were subscribing and subscribing and subscribing, and it was a way to get my kind of message out about retail in a way that you could reach people that's not necessarily pharmacists. Because a lot of people who subscribe to me tell me they're not pharmacists, but they like my stuff. So
Yeah.
just kind of kept doing it. And the more I did, the more opportunities kind of presented itself. So
That's what's up. I didn't even know about the movie, man. Like, tell me, tell me about that. Like, I haven't. It's still on your channel.
yeah, it's like probably like my first video. Like, I was recording in my college of pharmacy, and just kind of like different scenes. I actually shot it in a real pharmacy, and
Okay.
I got one where I'm trying to meet my flu shot goal, so I'm running outside, chasing people down, stabbing them with flu shots and stuff like that. Yeah, I was just running around, popping out of a minivan, trying to get the flu shots. Trying to meet the goals, just things like that. People thought was kind of crazy. I'm actually trying to work on another skit, but it's more called like the Hood Pharmacy, because like where I used to work in Chicago, these are literally like probably the most dangerous places in like the United States, and just
Yeah.
things that kind of just go on there. And I think the average person would be like, where did you work? It's almost so dangerous. You know how like if you're in
Yeah.
California and there's like a earthquake, Facebook will mark you
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
these were like when I come to work, it's like Maurice is safe at the pharmacy
Yeah.
on the west side. So when I tell people these stories, whether you're a pharmacist or not, they just start laughing, and
Yeah.
I was like, it'd just be interesting just to kind of just tell that side of retail, because then when you see the commercials, it seems like there's that one pharmacist and that one customer, and it's in a nice environment. It's not, it's completely safe. Whereas, where I was working, if a medication wasn't free, they'd threaten your life. I don't think people realize about how people, my friends are shocked. They go, but you're a doctor. Why would somebody talk to you that way? And I don't think people understand, like, just because we're doctors, that we don't necessarily get that same respect from the general public.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, which goes back to kind of what I was going to earlier. But man, that's funny, man. Yeah, I got to go back and look at that. I didn't even know that you had done a movie already. But yeah, it's good to know that you kind of have more things kind of planned and in the pipeline, as far as like skits and comedy, just kind of taking that a little bit further. I think you definitely hit on something with, the whole pharmacy thing, and, you have your niche audience, but like you also said, there's people that are not pharmacists at all, but just can still like, enjoy the comedy and laugh and, whatnot. So that's awesome, man. Like, how did you, one of the things that I've seen about you now, that I've started to kind of follow your page and things like that, and look at your videos, is you've become kind of like this advocate now, like a voice for pharmacy, or at least a voice for like retail pharmacy in a way. Like, and if you think about it, like we really don't have, and I don't know that we've ever really had, you know, somebody like that in that space where like you're kind of whistleblowing in a way. You're kind of like just shedding light on some of the things that are going on, and bringing more attention to it, and just kind of bringing a safe space for people who don't have a platform, people who don't really have a voice, to be able to kind of come out and voice their grievances against you know corporations or whatever that are that they're working with. And so how did you kind of get into that? How did you go from, okay, first it was just, kind of comedy to now like you'd become that person? How did that happen?
It just kind of, I got to a point in my retail experience where it was just, I felt bad because I can handle like a lot of stress and anxiety pretty well, but I work with other pharmacists like I just hate my life, or
Yeah.
technicians that just say like, when I come home, I'm a miserable person to my family, and I've talked about hurting myself, and I never, had these thoughts go through my head until I start working in pharmacy. And like everybody I talk to, just like their whole life just seems to just fall apart. And it's not that it just affects that person; it affects their family because they come home and they're not the same
Yeah.
person that they used to be. And especially if that other person, those other people aren't in pharmacy, they don't get it because they don't. So like,
Yeah.
what could be so difficult about pharmacy? You're helping people,
Yeah.
And it just came to a point as I saw salaries decreasing. I was like, am I really gonna want to do this? If I don't try to speak up now, I'm definitely not gonna do this in 5 years. So what difference does it make if something happens, And so,
Yeah.
before my new job now, I work with the state. Last 3-4 months, I've been working for CVS, and that whole time I was posting stuff about CVS understaffing, PBM reforms, and I just don't really care if something were to happen,
Yeah.
while I was working, because like I said, to me in my mind, it's like, oh, I'm not gonna do this in 2 years if salaries go down to like $30 an hour, if they keep reducing technician hours
Yeah.
below where
Text.
they're at
Yeah.
now. It's like, okay, I won't be working here anyway.
Right. So and that's, that's definitely something else that I want to get into as far as like, some of the issues that we see in it. But like, who was the first person to like, kind of reach out to you like, hey, Maurice, can you post this, or can you do, like, how did you get started? Like where like now people are coming to you to kind of tell you about stuff, and then now you're like giving it a bigger like platform and putting it out there, and kind of allowing them to be heard. Like,
Yeah, I was posting stuff, and people will always message me like, "Hey, man, I love your channel. I like your post. I wish I could like it, but I don't want to get fired.
oh
And
wow.
can you post this anonymously?" So I used to just post things like I was posting it, or I would just put
Yeah.
anonymous. I didn't really care either way. And then
Wow.
it really, after I did the show with Z Dog, that was like every day I get like 20 people like, "Hey, can you post this anonymously?" Or called me last week. He's like, "I just need somebody to talk to." And I guess, he's so stressed out where he works in retail, and that he feels like, uh, because he voiced some concern now, the store manager and pharmacy manager treat him differently, and every day is just terrible, that he has like thoughts of hurting himself as he drives home. So he actually has his mom drive him and pick him up from work. And he's like, I feel embarrassed to tell you this as a grown man who has to have his mom drive him, But it's just
Wow.
like, after work, after an 8-hour shift, my mind is just all over the place, and I don't know what to do. And so I was just giving him advice, and he was just like, "Thank you for talking to me and being a voice." And I feel bad
Yeah.
because it's like people shouldn't have to live like that, even if it's not pharmacy. Just that's not what life's about.
Right. Right. And so for those that are not aware, or for those that are not pharmacists, a couple of things. So I'll go into kind of, just to describe a little bit of how, big Maurice has gotten a little bit. You have about, is it like, I think you've got like over 14,000 subscribers on YouTube. I don't know about, the other channels, your Twitter, or, Facebook or things like that, but you have that much on YouTube alone. And I know I just started following you on your Facebook page, and like almost every day you're posting something, anonymously for somebody, or, um, and it's it might, others may not understand, kind of how the severity of it, but there was a New York Times article that came out on, just kind of exposing some, kind of retail tactics. I don't know, maybe like a year ago or something, that really just talked about how a lot of these corporations just take advantage of pharmacists, and they'll understaff us, and you could be working 14-hour days without really taking a break, and just you're working with maybe 1 or 2 techs, just they really just squeeze the life out of you, and so do you remember that article when it came out?
Yes. I think it was
Yeah.
like Ellen Gabler. I think that was the name of the person.
Yeah. Right. I actually was seeing something about the person who leaked, who whistle blew to New York Times. I ran into something about him
He actually
the other
reached
day.
out to me too about just like pharmacy and retail.
Yeah.
Who wrote that? So that was kind of interesting. I was like, wow, New York Times.
Nice. Are they trying to do a story with you?
They just like to prick my brain every once in a while. I had her. There's somebody that's at NBC Nightly News.
Wow.
We've been texting. There's actually a pharmacist out in Boston who quit pharmacy and now is a Fox News reporter.
Wow.
Career change, and he wants to make things. But the problem is that now everything's all about, if it's not about COVID or if it's not about like Black Lives Matter or the
Yeah.
then all their stories they keep saying just get pushed back. So I think more change will come in the future. Is just as of right now until COVID's over. That's just kind of just what the focus is. So
Yeah. Now that's interesting. So to kind of highlight, and you've touched on it a little bit, just kind of the importance of this and just the work that you're doing. There are people, because of how stressful and how much this just kind of sucks the life out of you. There are people that run into depression. One of my best friends, he that he used to work in retail. He told me at one point he was just getting like physically, like he was starting to get sick, like maybe something with his back or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. And I think he said, it was it was a day like that he just made the decision, like, man, I gotta leave. Like, I gotta leave. And he got into a hospital, and that's how me and him met. But there are people who, you're just overworked, overstressed, pushed, squeezed, to, just really get the last drop out of you. And, mentally it can really take a toll on you as well, and you've highlighted that, and you've helped highlight some of those issues. I remember seeing one of the posts that you made was about someone that actually did commit suicide. And I don't know if he was a pharmacist or if he was just working in the store and they pushed him to kind of get into the pharmacy or something. But I know that, that happened, and, the company was really not really trying to accept any responsibility for this person's death. And I think it was a daughter of, the guy that reached out to you and, really just told you about the story, and you talked about it a little bit. And can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah.
You don't have to go into details of who, of course, but just.
Yeah, it's just a lot of different just retail, just where people just get kind of burnt out, or suicide. Had another story on there where somebody, who worked for CVS was nearly about to jump off of a bridge, and the police officer stopped her, and the police officer was actually
One of our patients.
Yeah, the husband of a wife who she was helping her while she had cancer. So it's just, whether you're a store manager or a pharmacist, it just seems like retail. There's just so much pressure to meet these numbers that it people are like pushed to the brink, and they kind of take advantage of the fact that everybody gets into pharmacy to help people. So like, even though you're understaffed, because you want to help people, you'll stay an hour late to take care of those patients.
Yeah.
Come in early because that's why you became a pharmacist and you cared. It's like they just take advantage of that, no matter how much they cut the budget, most people will sacrifice their personal life and freedom to try to take care of their patients. And sometimes
Yeah.
people kind of, you know, I think, especially with pharmacists, the thing is, so many people are kind of trapped by those student loans, and they just kind of just suck it up to try to deal with it until they
Yeah.
just break, and then don't know what else to do, because what else can you do that has the same salary that would allow you to pay back those loans? Like I remember that I used to always just kind of chase the money,
Yeah.
The more I hated retail, the more money mattered to me. So that's why I was always taking busier stores, bigger stores that had the biggest bonus, because I was like, if I'm gonna be miserable, let me. I want the
At
bonus.
least pay me. Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, I don't want that store. I said, oh, I'll take that store. How many scripts they do? Okay, I'll take it over. And that's kind of like, kind of what propelled my kind of career, and just, from a pharmacy standpoint, that I was always willing to take on the challenge, and was successful at turning stores. But like now I got kind of, I look back and I was like, I I lived a lifestyle where I could afford a nice house and a nice car, but I didn't have the time to actually enjoy it because I was always at work. So like, really, what's the point?
Right.
A big house if you're never here. And even when I was there, you spent so much time just trying to calm down and relax from when were there, and then before you have to go to work, there's so much anxiety about going into work. You just kind of just are off in the days.
Yeah.
So it's really, puts a perspective. Even though like retail probably took a couple of years off my life, it probably added to my life too, because it changed my whole life perspective. Like, just
Yeah.
being comfortable and having a peaceful mental state of mind is more important now. So now I feel like I'm more
Yeah.
able to enjoy the rest of my life and not be so focused on money. And
Yeah. No, it's funny that you mentioned that, and now that I even think about it, there's actually somebody that I know that I used to. I don't want to say I used to work with him, but I almost started working with him. It was a district manager at a new city that I had just relocated to, and I can't remember what happened, but it was a lot of work related stuff, but um, I didn't end up working there much. And so I didn't really, I helped him open the store up, because it was like the first CVS in that city, built it from ground up. I remember, I still have pictures, man, where we were putting up, you have an empty store, empty bins, empty everything, and you're just setting up. And so I helped him set it up, but I don't think I actually, did I? I think I worked maybe like a couple of shifts actually. Like this was like 6 years ago. Um, the last time I worked retail. Um, but yeah, the last thing I heard about it, someone told me that he actually committed suicide. Um, not too long after that, I can't remember exactly what the story was, but like, it was definitely like, it seemed like it was work related. Like some things are taking kind of a turn at work, and um, yeah, that just happened, and it's just crazy just how much pressure people can be put under, with these, you know, in these companies, to where, you're dealing with anxiety, dealing with this depression, or just feel like, man, there's just no way out, and you go ahead and make a decision like that to end it all, and so, yeah, I was shocked when I heard about it, man. It's definitely, and I didn't really know that. I didn't, until I started seeing some of the videos that you post about it, that it's as prevalent as it is.
yeah, and I think the hardest part about pharmacy, like, it's one thing when you're a store manager, it's like, okay, well, I can leave this and go, I've had store, like my old store manager, he now works at a hospital managing a department. So it's like other stuff you can do, but like
Yeah.
pharmacists, we feel trapped, because it's like, okay, what are you gonna do outside of
Yeah.
pharmacy? And I think that's what puts more stress. Even though I guess kind of the beauty of being unemployed for a little bit is that I was able to realize that people actually look at pharmacists differently. Like the skill set of being knowledgeable about the healthcare field and have management experience. Actually, I was able to do things that probably like being like a project manager for like insurance company or something else, just managing $1 million project because they wanted somebody to have healthcare experience, management experience. But what you
Yeah.
need was like a PMP certificate. I didn't have that, but they told me if I got that, I'd be an excellent candidate. It's like, okay, well, maybe I can work towards that and, do
Yeah.
something else. I think sometimes we just kind of box ourselves in, and that the only thing we can do is just be a retail pharmacist. That's not really true.
And it's actually funny that you mentioned that, because that's actually some of what I've started to get into lately, or start to kind of think about lately, is like, as far as like what else can we can do, um, and you're right, a lot of times we don't really think about it, because it's like, okay, farmers, okay, you could do hospital, you could do retail, you could do, like go to industry or something, but we don't think beyond those boxes. And I've had to kind of have that conversation with myself and just with friends, and be like, look, it's not just we're pharmacists, we're knowledgeable about medications, we're the drug experts, in the healthcare field. A lot of times, when you get into management, and then you have those skills, managerial leadership skills, you have problem solving skills, all these different things that we just kind of do automatically, or we just kind of do just because we have to, but we don't really think about it beyond that. We don't really think too much like, oh man, I just solved a problem, or I just, managed blah, 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 or, this or that. We don't really think about it like that. But that translates beyond just pharmacy. It translates beyond that. And I don't know if you get them or not, but I get a lot of I get some requests from these, kind of, whether it's drug companies or, whatever, that, they'll pay you, whatever, maybe like $20-$30 to like do like 5-10 minutes, market research with them, where they're asking you just, random questions. I don't know if you've seen those, or if you've
No,
gotten a
I
few of those.
haven't gotten those, or I just probably ignored them if I did.
Yeah. So there's, I was talking to one of my friends about it. I'm like, yo, like there's people that's willing to pay us like, $30 for 10 minutes of our time, and even now, like I was supposed to talk to this dude. I think he's in Israel. He's doing some type of market research about pharmacy, and he wants to talk to somebody. But there's people that we are drug experts, and we have a skill that, is valuable and that is marketable, and beyond just looking at that, we have all these other skills that come along with, just a job, and, doing our job, that we can use to leverage and get into other things, So that's kind of what I've been looking at lately, and trying to kind of get more into, because, if this thing goes to hell, we got to be able to still survive, man. We're still early in our career, man. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's kind of, when I look at these trades, it's kind of just like when I look at trade schools and they're like willing to train you for free. And some of these trades, they're, 40, 42, $45 an hour. I just keep them pinned. Okay, maybe I might have to do this trade. I might have to do that trade.
yeah.
I keep it pinned because, it's one thing too, especially with a lot of these trades, you kind of work by yourself, and there's some type of beauty in that to me, because you're so used to working with the public or people screaming at you, but doing
Yeah.
something, get your job done by yourself and it's peaceful. It just,
And the other thing, man, being professionals and being, just, healthcare professionals, other than, yeah, going and opening up our own pharmacy, which is kind of why I think, provider status would be really good for us. I think there's not, a lot of times we don't really think much about what else we can do with, that degree, as opposed to just, okay, a lot of times it's, okay, we got to go work for, you know, this company or that company, or go to a hospital. We don't, a lot of times we don't, they don't teach us in school, like, hey, you can on your own start doing this X, Y, and Z, other than just opening up your own independent, and I think that there's definitely something to that. I know people that, are medical writers, for whether it's the Pharmacy Times or, whatever. Um, they write articles like that. Obviously, we're now getting, more into kind of the social media, YouTube kind of space a little bit like that. But I feel like there's not much focus on the other things that we can do with our degree, with that degree, as opposed to, oh, just working in a retail store, or working in a hospital, doing this, doing that. um, and so I think there's definitely opportunity there as well. Yeah. um, why don't we talk about just some of the, I guess, some of the, not just advocacy, I guess it is, you could call it advocacy, because I don't see anybody else that's really doing what you're doing out there as far as being a voice for pharmacy. And when I even try to think about, like, man, who's like, is there anybody that's really just that famous, kind of even even if you talk about YouTube or Twitter or something. I mean,
There are people working on advocacy because I've talked to them, but they're like behind the scenes because they're still working. So they kind of like, there's people who will message me and I'll look at their profile picture. I'm like, who is this? But they have a whole fake profile just to protect
yeah,
themselves. What I've come to realize that there are a lot of pharmacists out there that are trying to work, but they really can't just be who they are. They have to go under some other persona or
yeah,
leak information to this reporter. That's always when
yeah.
reporters reach out to me like, oh, so and so sent me to you, and it'll be this other pharmacist that's just, I can't post anything, but here you go. So I'm probably just the only person that just does it publicly when it's
Yeah,
right there.
yeah. I think that's amazing. The only person that I can maybe think of, like, that was, really kind of getting a little buzz back in the day, was like the angry pharmacist on Twitter or something. I don't know if you remember that dude, but no, he would just post like just kind of horror stories and stuff like that. But no, as far as like actually, doing something to really change, and bring light to the profession, and retail. I definitely, you're definitely doing a great work in that, and now you've kind of become that voice. Um, what are some of the goals with that? Or what are some of the things that you're looking to accomplish? With that. And I know me and you've spoken, offline about, some of our similar, interests and what we would like to see changed and things like that. But, you know, uh, what are some of your kind of interests and goals as far as, what you're doing with that, with the being a voice?
One, my kind of goal is, I think because retail pharmacy's gotten so bad that a lot of pharmacists don't join their associations, like pharmacy associations, state associations, and the state associations that I've spoken to, like, they're trying to change things, but they don't have a lot of membership, a lot of money, and you can't bring change when who you're trying to bring change about. They have probably like 10 lawyers and numerous
Yeah,
lobbyists. And they maybe have one lawyer and one lobbyist.
yeah,
And so I think, for pharmacy, as bad as it is, with the only opportunity for change is, like, we don't get change in the next 2-3 years. Like, what it's just going to get worse. But now it's like the time. So I think that everybody really needs to, like, support their association instead of the mindset of, okay, well, nothing's getting changed, so I'm not going to support. Where you should join your association and then hold them accountable. Like, hey, I paid this money. How come nothing's getting changed? Because if you don't support them, I mean, how everybody's just waiting on somebody else to do something, but that's not
yeah,
how change is going to happen. So
yeah,
really kind of focus on that. My goal would be to get some PBM reform, because I think PBM reform will lead into better staffing conditions. Secondly, work on the staffing conditions, and then third would be to I really think, especially with telehealth and what this pandemic has showed us, that provider status was something that we definitely kind of need. So those are things that I'm working on, kind of like in those, or kind of that order. As of right now, kind of just behind the scenes working with different organizations.
Okay, that's what's up. As far as me, I think some of the things, and you know, we've spoken about this. I feel like I'm trying to do something similar to what, you know, maybe not necessarily be a voice, but like definitely trying to bring more light to you know, maybe the hospital aspect of it, because that's where I am. That's where my, you know, some of my experiences and, you know, in leadership and things like that, you know, talk about it a little bit more, bring more attention to it. And then I feel like, you know, just the way the profession is going, just seeing how, like, you know, just even when I started 6 years ago compared to now, like salaries have decreased something like maybe 30–40%. You know, you're seeing more and more. There's so many pharmacists now. It's even harder now to get a job than before. The profession just seems like it's oversaturated and almost diluted to some degree, you know. And so um, I think we definitely need to clamp down on some of these schools and be better at that. And that's one thing that you see with, you know, medicine and doctors, like they control that to some aspect, like how many schools are opening and things like that. They don't just allow schools to open like that, you know, like they control that a little bit better, I feel, than we do. I think we also need to kind of curb these, you know, kind of like you said, work more to we need to work more to support our local chapters, because I think they're the ones that are going to be able to curb the corporations in a way, you know, because a lot of times you'll see that they're the ones that are pushing for these different things, you know, whether it's increasing the pharmacist to tech ratio, I mean, decreasing that, or, you know, the different things that we've seen now that we're like, man, like how are we, you know, these working conditions, you know, we need to support that. I think also we definitely need a provider status. You know, I don't know about you, but like definitely since like around the time that I graduated, before I graduated, they've been promising us that, you know, like, oh, we're gonna have provider status, you know, it's gonna, you know, just change the game and this and that. And now we still don't have it, you know. And so we see how that's kind of, you know, hindering us from really being able to, you know, go out there and bill for some of the services that we do on our own. But I feel like that's going to be very important for us moving forward.
Yeah, I think one, if you curb the PBMs and pharmacies get more reimbursement, that will lead to more tech help, more pharmacist hours. Um, I also think that if you get provider status, you know, I know there's physicians' office that would gladly pay for a pharmacist, you know, hire a pharmacist to manage their, you know, chronic disease patients. So I feel like getting the provider status and PBM reform will really tell us if the market is oversaturated or not, you know, because everybody keeps cutting back. Because anytime you do a CE credit on any disease state, the first paragraph is always how much money we spend on non-adherence, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
clearly, you know, pharmacists are needed because, you know, I can't even imagine probably the billions of dollars we waste on non-adherence or medication mismanagement. So, but until we get the PBM provider status, then I can really tell if there's too many schools or not. But right now, there's just too many because, you know, the reimbursements are low and we don't get paid for half the stuff that we do. So then, you know, now it seems like it's too many pharmacists. But I really think if we were actually paid for everything that we did, we had provider status and pharmacies were making more profit, and there was more independent pharmacies not going out of business, it might not be as oversaturated as it is right now.
right, as it seems, right. Uh, yeah, so we're definitely back with Maurice. Um, and I know I had mentioned it a little bit, but some of the stuff that I'm more passionate about, I'm in hospital, and I enjoy, you know, that aspect. Um, but one of the things that you see is even in a hospital, like a lot of times those jobs are very saturated. You know, it's super difficult. There was a time, I don't know if you remember, when everyone was saying, you know, if you wanted to get into hospital, you have to do a residency. Yeah. But even with that, you know, you could do that. You can have all the experience and still find it difficult to get a job, just because of how saturated it's become, and just pharmacy in general. And so um, I think that's kind of a little bit where and if you look at my videos, I've talked about, the different, how to get a job, how to get a hospital job, networking, different things like that, how to, kind of study for the BCPS, get board certified. That's kind of where my expertise is, or just kind of the things that I'm more passionate about. But I feel like really what the thing is now with us is that there's just so many pharmacists out there. There's so many and not enough jobs, right? And so I get a lot of people coming to me asking about that. How do I get a job? How do I get a job? Especially after even before I became a director, I got a lot of that. And so I feel like there's definitely something there, like we have to do something about the job market, and, people feeling like, they have to uproot their lives and, go to some remote place before they can get a job. And,
Yeah, it's definitely changed. Like people that I know, there's people that I know that have like pharmacy pages and, a lot of these corporate people, and they sit on some meetings with these retail companies, and they kind of tell me just how many jobs that these companies forecast that they're gonna cut pharmacists over the next, 5-10 years, like 8,000 pharmacists, and they may try to, talks about making, even for retail, you had to have a residency just to make it harder, and then so that now you're talking about everybody's going to try to find a way to go do a residency, then in these places are going to open up more and more residencies just so those people have some place to go, and it's just a scramble for people to just keep jobs. And even before, when I did my residency, it was you do a residency and you work there. Now it's just like they open up more and more residency spots, but they never really hire those pharmacists who complete them because they have to pay them a full salary. It's just cheaper to have, instead of having like 3 residency spots and then hiring those pharmacists, they'll have like 6, 7, 8 residents running around for a half or a third of the salary, and just keep doing that every year. So it's just like, definitely, people should be doing the residency, because pretty soon even once it gets oversaturated, they'll say, okay, well, now you need a residency to even do retail, not just, hospital.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So it's crazy. Have you heard about Amazon's push to try to get in the game?
Yeah. It's, I don't know. Amazon, I guess, to me, it seems like Amazon would really probably take away from like what CVS is doing, because even when I was at CVS, they had all this like pill packing type packaging coming. I'm like, what the? Oh, they must be,
They're getting ready.
Yeah, trying to get ready for, what Amazon is trying to do. And
yeah, I feel like when Amazon gets in the game, and I've been telling people this privately, but I'll go on record and say it right now for everybody. I feel like when Amazon gets in the game, that will be the nail in the coffin for retail pharmacy. Like officially, I feel like they will like give it like 2, 3, 4, 5 years for they really like get it like situated. Like it's gonna be the type of thing where you're gonna get a prescription. If a customer has a prescription, you just take a picture of it, send it into the app, and they'll deliver it by tomorrow. You see all these Amazon vans going around, like around town. Like they'll be doing that with prescriptions now. And I predict that Amazon is going to buy Walgreens.
I can see that.
Think about how bad Walgreens is struggling. Like for the people who like absolutely want to still have, that, kind of, brick and mortar, experience. I feel like Amazon's going to, buy something like Walgreens just to really like compete with CVS and to really like, and yeah, CVS is not going to be able to hang at all.
What about Amazon and Walmart?
Oh, I mean, Walmart is always going to be good because like, you know, they have just that you know, foot traffic that people are always going in. Walmart isn't in pharmacy for, you know, to try to take over pharmacy. They're in pharmacy just to get a little bit of that market share, and just because they know people are coming into their stores regardless. They're not coming in for pharmacy.
Maybe Amazon will partner with Walmart because they don't need as many brick and mortar stores as like the other chains need. They just need a few here and there, so people want to drop off.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that could be. Yeah, I could see Amazon buying, you know, Walmart pharmacy.
Walmart probably loses a lot of business because everybody can just order stuff on Amazon anyway. So it's just a way.
It'd be a win-win for both of them. But yeah, when Amazon really gets in there, man, I feel like they're gonna like kill what is left of retail, man. It's just we're not gonna even, like, 5 years from now, it's gonna be so different. I know people were saying that about mail order when mail order first started. But I feel like Amazon is just another beast, bro. Like, look at where Barnes and Noble is today. You know, there's no more Barnes and Nobles. There's not going to be a CVS anymore. There's not going to be a Walgreens. There's not going to be any of this stuff. You know, people are just that's going to be the new thing. And then it's not, especially with COVID, people don't want to go out. People don't want to, you know, be going out to the stores.
Yeah, I think online. At least there will be no more front end. I know that's what a lot of these companies are partnering with physician offices where they get rid of the front end, add maybe some more durable medical equipment, and just doctor here, pharmacy here, get you some canes, some diabetic socks, and other stuff, and that's about it.
Yeah, and that's definitely big. And I know you touched on that a little bit with the physicians' offices. I've actually kind of, you know, tried to look into getting partnered up with a physician's office before to do some work with them, you know, some kind of, you know, just kind of like management, like you talked about. And I think that's also going to be big in the future, you know, as everything is moving more out, you know, more towards outpatient and more towards, you know, how do we keep patients from being readmitted. You know, I think you're definitely going to like see a lot of that, you know, going forward. So.
Yeah, I had somebody that I was talking to. I forgot who I was talking to, but they had did surveys, and a lot of physicians' offices, if pharmacists had provider status and they could bill, they would definitely hire 1 or 2 pharmacists to just manage their chronic disease state patients or people who leave the hospital and they don't want them to come back. If there was a way to bill for that.
You know, there is a way to bill for that. It's through MTM, you know, this kind of, you know, chronic care management services, and, you know, kind of what Medicare calls, you know, the MTM services, because that's actually how I, you know, the framework under which I was trying to like get this partnership thing going with this doctor that I was working with some years back. But there are people that are doing that, you know, right now, and the physician will bill for it, you know, and you just have to like figure out something as far as like payment, like how the pharmacist is going to be compensated. But yeah, it's doable, man. It's doable. And I think definitely having provider status and being able to do that on our own will definitely help us in the future. So, you know, here's hoping, you know, for that to happen. And, you know, hoping for definitely a brighter, you know, future for our career and for our profession.
The other day, my daughter's like, "Daddy, I want to be a pharmacist." I said, We'll talk about that later.
I know, right? No, even people right now, one of my mentees, he was a tech that I had hired maybe a couple of years back. You know, when he came in, he was like, man, he wants to be a pharmacist, this and that. And I was like, are you sure about this, man? Yeah, but yeah, man, it's a great, you know, it's a great profession. I definitely enjoy it. I know that you love what you're doing as well. It's just, there's definitely some things that we need to change and that we need improved for it to be a better profession for all of us, you know. So hoping for that to happen very soon.
Yes.
Yeah. But thank you very much, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. It was fun. Time flew by. I was like, whoa. But you know, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. And for people that may not be aware or that want to maybe check out some of your stuff, your content, or even if they want to reach out to you, you know, they you know, they want you to post something for them, or where can they find you?
You follow my YouTube channel, RXComedy. Also on Facebook, same my page, RXComedy.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, you can just email me at doctorofcomedy@gmail.com.
Okay. Awesome. And yeah, likewise, you know, most people know how to, if you're listening to this podcast or whatnot, you probably know how to find me. Highlighting Greatness is the name of the podcast. Um, my YouTube channel is, I think it's Insights from Fasayo, as well as the YouTube and the Facebook. I mean, the Instagram and the Facebook as well. Same thing, Insights from Fasayo. But definitely a great interview, a great podcast. Been definitely trying to get you on here for some time. Glad that we finally had the time to link up and just do it. But definitely appreciate, you know, what you're doing out in the field, in the community, for the community. Looking forward to just where you're going to go with it, as far as, you know, whether it's comedy, whether it's, you know, advocacy, whether it's, you know, just still being a voice for pharmacy, and just kind of how far you're gonna run with that, man. But we'll definitely keep up. But appreciate you being on, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
It's definitely, and we will thank you for listening. We will see you on the next episode of Highlighting Greatness. Thank you.